By the time Mama Ekaette realized she had destroyed her son's life, her own daughter was already bleeding in a marriage she couldn't escape. The night Ini ran back to her mother's house barefoot, rainwater mixed with the blood on her lips. Her wrapper was torn, her eyes were swollen, and the neighbors who once envied her marriage watched silently from their windows as she banged desperately on the rusty gate. "Mama! Mama! Please open the door!" Inside the small apartment, Mama Ekaette woke up confused. The moment she opened the gate and saw her daughter shaking in the rain, her heart nearly stopped. "Ini? Jesus Christ, who did this to you?" Ini burst into tears. "My husband." Mama Ekaette staggered backwards. No, Tunde can never touch you." But before she could say another word, Ini looked directly into her mother's eyes and whispered something that would haunt her forever. "Now you finally understand how all those women felt." Silence, heavy silence, and suddenly, every woman Mama Ekaette had driven away from her son's life came rushing back into her memory like ghosts she could no longer escape. For years, everybody on Umoran Street feared Mama Ekaette, not because she was rich, not because she was educated, but because her tongue could destroy a person's peace in seconds. After her husband died, she raised her 2 children alone in a cramped one-room apartment in Lagos. People respected her hustle. She sold akara every morning by 5 a.m., washed clothes for neighbors, did everything possible to train her children. But pain slowly changed her, especially after her son Daniel became successful. Daniel was all she had left emotionally, and deep inside, Mama Ekaette became terrified of losing him to another woman. That fear slowly turned into obsession, then obsession turned into control. No woman was ever good enough for her son. Never. The first girl Daniel brought home was Sandra, a calm, respectful nurse from Uyo. The moment Sandra entered the compound, Mama Ekaette already disliked her. "She's too quiet," she told neighbors. "She's pretending." One afternoon, Sandra came to help cook. Instead of appreciating her, Mama Ekaette humiliated her in front of everyone. "You cannot even cut vegetables properly. Is this how your mother trained you?" Sandra endured it for months, until one evening she cried and told Daniel, "I love you, but your mother hates me." Daniel promised to fix things, but he never truly defended her, and eventually, Sandra left. Mama Ekaette celebrated like she had won a battle. "One bad woman gone," she said proudly. But she didn't know she had just broken her son's heart. Then came Anita, beautiful, smart, independent. This time, Mama Ekaette became worse. She monitored Anita's dressing, her cooking, even the way she laughed. "If you marry my son, you must respect me first," she constantly reminded her. One day, during a family gathering, Mama Ekaette accused Anita of trying to control Daniel because she suggested they move closer to his workplace. The argument became so intense that Anita walked out crying. That relationship died too. Then another woman came, and another. Every single relationship ended the same way. Daniel slowly became emotionally exhausted. At 39, he stopped talking about marriage completely. People began asking questions. Why is such a handsome man still single? Mama Ekaette always answered proudly, "My son is waiting for a good woman." But deep down, even Daniel had stopped believing love was meant for him. Only Ini ever challenged her mother. "Mama, you are the problem," she once said boldly. Mama Ekaette nearly exploded. "So after everything I suffered for this family, I'm now the enemy?" Ini sighed. "Mama, you don't allow any woman to breathe around Daniel." "I'm protecting my son." "No, you're controlling him." That statement caused weeks of silence between them, but Ini knew the truth. She had watched too many women cry because of her mother. Still, life had a painful surprise waiting for her too. Then Ini met Tunde, and suddenly everything changed. Tunde was charming, successful, soft-spoken, the kind of man Nigerian mothers prayed for. He bought gifts for Mama Ekaette, called her Mummy, sent food to the house. Even Daniel liked him instantly. For the first time in years, Mama Ekaette was genuinely happy. "My daughter has found a real man," she boasted to neighbors. Wedding preparations took over the compound, dance rehearsals, asoebi colors, pre-wedding shoots, TikTok videos. Everybody admired them online. People commented, "God, when? Perfect couple. Love is sweet." But social media never shows what happens after the cameras go off. 3 months after the wedding, Ekaette stopped smiling. Her phone calls reduced. She barely visited home. Whenever she came around, she looked emotionally drained. One evening, Daniel noticed bruises on her wrist. "Ekaette, what happened?" She quickly adjusted her sleeve. "It's nothing." But Daniel knew that look. The look of someone suffering silently. Later that night, he heard muffled crying from the bathroom. The next morning, he confronted her. "Tunde is hurting you, isn't he?" Ekaette froze, then tears rolled down her face. At first, she tried denying it, but eventually, everything poured out. "He controls everything," she cried. "My salary, my movements, my friends. He insults me when he's angry. And sometimes," she whispered painfully, "he hits me." Daniel felt sick. "How long has this been happening?" Ekaette lowered her head. "Since the 2nd month of marriage." When Mama Ekaette first heard it, she refused to believe it. "My son-in-law can never do such a thing." But abuse has a way of exposing itself eventually. One Sunday night, Ekaette returned home bleeding from her mouth. That was the night denial died. Mama Ekaette held her daughter and screamed in shock. "Who did this to you?" "Tunde," Ekaette whispered weakly. The old woman trembled with rage. But before she could curse him, Ekaette said something that shattered her soul. "The women you chased away from Daniel's life felt exactly like this." Silence swallowed the room. And suddenly, Mama Ekaette remembered every cruel thing she had ever done. Sandra crying outside the gate. Anita begging Daniel to speak up for her. The insults, the manipulation, the emotional torture. For years, she called it protecting her son. But now, watching her own daughter suffer, she finally saw it for what it truly was. Pain. That night, Mama Ekaette couldn't sleep. For the first time in years, guilt finally entered her heart. She sat alone in darkness, remembering all the women she wounded simply because she feared abandonment. After her husband died, Daniel became emotionally everything to her. She became possessive without realizing it. Every woman felt like competition. Every relationship felt like betrayal. And because nobody ever corrected her, she kept destroying lives while calling it love. Until life brought the same tears to her own daughter's doorstep. The next morning, Mama Ekaette entered Daniel's room quietly. Her son sat staring at old photos on his phone. Photos of women he once loved. Women he lost because he never stood up for them. Mama Ekaette sat beside him. Then something unexpected happened. She broke down crying. Not small tears. Heavy tears from years of pride and regret. "I ruined your happiness," she whispered. Daniel looked shocked. "Mama, I thought I was protecting you," she cried, "but I was only protecting my own fear." Daniel's eyes became watery. For years he had waited to hear those words. "I became afraid of losing you," she continued softly. "After your father died, you became the only man in my life. Every woman felt like somebody trying to take you away from me." Daniel looked away emotionally. "But now," she whispered painfully, "life has punished me through my own daughter." Weeks later, Ekaette finally left the marriage. It wasn't easy. Relatives talked. Neighbors judged her. Church members whispered behind her back. Some even said, "A woman must endure marriage." But this time, Mama Ekaette shocked everybody. "My daughter will not die to prove she was married," she said boldly. And for the first time in many years, she defended a woman instead of destroying one. Months passed. Healing slowly returned to the family. And one evening, something surprising happened. Daniel reconnected with Anita. This time, Mama Ekaette welcomed her warmly, not because she became perfect overnight, but because pain had finally taught her empathy. As they all sat outside one evening watching children play football in the compound, Mama Ekaette looked quietly at her children. Then she spoke softly. "Sometimes God allows us to feel the same pain we gave others." Everyone became silent. "So we can finally become human again."